Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Life Matters. Of course, I'm your host, D-Boss. Before we start the episode, if you could subscribe to the channel, D-Boss Networks, so you could see the other episodes that we do, that if you missed the episodes on TV. Today, we have a very special lady. She does a lot of stuff. She's wearing many hats, and she has her daughter who has autism. But unfortunately, she's supposed to be here today, but unfortunately, she fell asleep. But that's okay. We got here Toni Johnson, and we're going to just welcome her to the show.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm here in Columbus, Ohio, and it's 50 degrees today here. What's the temperature like there?
You don't even want to know.
Okay.
It's having a snowstorm at the present time.
Oh my goodness. So we got a heat wave, 50 degrees, raining, but it's 50 degrees.
Okay. So you were always in Columbus, Ohio?
No, actually, I'm originally from Toledo, Ohio. And you know our mutual friend.
Oh, well, she'll be right back in a minute. So what we're going to do, we'll just take a brief break. Welcome to Real Life Matters. I'm your host, D-Boss. Real Life Matters is a power-packed, inspired program that brings you real people with real matters. If you're a company, brand, or artist, we will take you to the next level. Watch Real Life Matters Monday to Friday right here. Well, we're back. We're back here.
Hey!
Everything happens. You never know, right?
That's okay. That's okay. Well,
so you came from Toledo and
Toledo, Ohio.
Okay. All right. And I understand that you've worked with a very big label, and you can tell us what you did there.
Okay. So I used to work for Motown Records. I was with Motown Records from 1991 until 1999. I was what we call a regional promotions manager. So that meant I covered Ohio, Kentucky, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Yeah, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Kentucky. I was responsible for getting those records played. Back in the 90s, we didn't have social media. We had CDs, okay? Mm-hmm. CDs. And my role, again, was to promote all the artists on our Motown rosters. I'll tell you, when I first got hired with Motown, the very first artist that I worked was Shanice Wilson. Do you remember that song, I Love Your Smile?
Yes.
It was Shanice Wilson and Boyz II Men, Motown Philly.
What?
Yes. And the Stevie Wonder Jungle Fever soundtrack.
So you worked with those particular artists?
I worked with those particular artists. And when I first started back in 1991, those were the first 3 singles that I worked. So it was my job to work with the program director at the radio station. You know, the program director at that time, they decided what records was going to be played. Okay. So a record doesn't mean anything if nobody hears it. So the goal, which every record company, they want as much airplay as possible because that generates to sales. So that was very exciting to me. That was one of the highlights of my life, working for Motown Records.
So did you actually meet these artists?
Yes, I met the artists whenever the artist was in town for like a concert or promotional date. It was my responsibility when they were in my region to make sure that I took them to radio. We did retail. Back then, we used to have mom and pop record stores. We don't have those anymore, you know. Okay. And that was a big deal because the mom and pop record stores, they had a lot to do with helping the career of an artist. As a matter of fact, my father used to own a record store in Toledo, Ohio. And
Okay.
that was my exposure to the music industry just from being a part of a family-owned business, a record store.
So what was
So
the name of the record store, if you don't mind?
Tommy L's. Tommy L's record store. And as you will hear later, I named my daughter after him. Tommy L's record store. So as I mentioned back then, when we had Ma and Pa record stores, that was like one of the pillars of our community. We could go to a record store and we could hear new music. And it was, you know, back then, remember when there was the cassettes? And then the
Yes.
8 tracks, and then the 45s and the albums. You know, we were in that era, and then the CDs came out. And then eventually everything was streaming.
So how was it working with Boys to Men? You know, and
How was it
Stevie
working
Wonder?
with the artists?
Yes.
Well, my first encounter with Boys to Men, actually, it was the first month that I was with Motown Records. There was a conference in New Orleans, and we showcased those, well, Shanice Wilson and Boys to Men. They were new. Motown really wasn't prepared for Motown Philly, which was their first single, to blow up that big, that quick. That was a good problem to have, of course. So their career, that first single, Motown Philly, it just took off.
Wow.
It became platinum within several months. That was a big deal. So they became a priority, you know. And then after that, 4 more singles released. I mean, number one, number one, number one. So they became so huge because during that time in '91, they were so unique, and that's what made them just kind of blow up. And then Shanice Wilson, her single became number one. I Love Your Smile. Stevie Wonder's Jungle Fever. The movie was out. I don't know if you remember the single These Three Words. These Three Words by Stevie Wonder. That was on the soundtrack. And of course, Jungle Fever. And you know, who doesn't love Stevie Wonder?
Right.
So
how was he? Was he nice to you, or?
Stevie Wonder, my first encounter with Stevie Wonder had a concert in Detroit. And my boss told me, he said, Stevie, you know, he's a talker. Very, very nice. He's a talker. And Stevie, you know, I guess with him being blind, a lot of his senses are very amplified. So he says, what perfume are you wearing? And I was wearing this perfume called Pheromone by Marilyn Miglin. He said, whatever it is, I like it. And he was just very, I mean, he's a superstar, you know, and I didn't want to feel like a groupie, but this is Stevie
But you're working for Motown.
Exactly. I didn't want to come across as a groupie, but you know, to walk into the radio station with a Stevie Wonder song, that was, because radio looked forward to it. I mean, it's a Stevie Wonder, you know. It felt good to walk into the radio station with hit records.
Wow.
You know, I had some songs and some artists that weren't as successful. That's, you know, that's the hard part, because I'm competing with other labels. We're all competing for airtime.
Okay. So your job was to get them airtime. So what would you guys do? You have to pay money, or what did you have to? What does the Motown have to do?
Money? No, that would be payola.
Okay.
No, I didn't do that. I'll just say that I didn't do that. We become creative in ways that we do, you know, support the radio station. You know, of course, we buy airtime to promote the album. You know, the album is coming out. We brought the artists for radio station events and concerts, and took them to retailers. And, you know, it was a lot of non-traditional marketing that we had to do. The bottom line is to get as much exposure to that artist so people can know who the artist is.
Right.
And I believe had I had streaming, or we had the internet and social media like it is now, on top of everything else, who knows? It probably would have been, better. But
Wow.
things have changed since the 90s, compared to now. We know that a lot of people now, as they look at traditional radio, they got so many different other outlets and how they can get their music. So it's a lot different now. But Motown, have you ever been to Hitsville in Detroit?
No.
You've got to go there. How close
Mm-hmm.
are you to Detroit?
It's Toronto. We're about maybe 4.5 hours.
Okay, it's worth it. I highly recommend to go to Hitsville. What a lot of people don't understand is that, back in the day, Berry Gordy, he started Motown, and all the artists that he signed, they all came from single parent homes. Everybody lived like in the same vicinity. Diana Ross, the Temptations, the Four Tops, and Martha Reeves. And they all came from single parent homes. And one of the things that Berry made sure that the artists did with their first check is to take care of their mother.
Wow.
And back in the day, there was real artist development, which they don't have it now. I can make a song, and I'm definitely not talented. You had to be able to sing. You really had to have talent back then.
Wow.
And Berry started the company. I don't know if you knew this, but Berry Gordy used to work at Ford Motor Company.
Oh.
Yeah, he worked at Ford Motor Company. At one point in his life, for a short time, he was a boxer. But he would write songs for other artists that did cover songs, okay? And it was Smokey Robinson that told Berry one day, you know what? If this is all you're going to make, you might as well start your own company. So the story is, Berry used to work at Ford Motor Company, and he wanted the record label, the name, to have some type of Detroit feel, like Motor City. And that's how he came up with the name Motown Records.
Wow.
Yeah, you should look into that. But Motown Records is started off in a house. And as Motown grew, Berry expanded it by buying more houses. So each house represented a department. You had your A&R department, you had your finance department. So he eventually owned maybe about 4 or 5 houses on that block, West Grand Boulevard in Detroit. And that house, like I said, if you get an opportunity, there's people from all over the world that come to Hitsville to have that experience of Motown. It's just amazing. And the fact that there's a sound room that is known for giving Motown the Motown sound.
Mm-hmm. So did you see Diana Ross?
I met Diana Ross before.
You see?
I met Diana Ross before. She was very nice. I didn't spend a lot of time with her, but I, introduced myself. I'm the representative for Motown, and she was performing in Detroit, and she was very nice. Actually, I was a little intimidated, like, oh my goodness, this is Diana Ross, but very nice. I expected diva attitude, but she was very, very nice, very approachable. Oh yeah.
Did you see Tina Turner or anybody like that, or?
No, Tina Turner wasn't on the label, but I never met Tina Turner. Of course, just to mention a few artists that I worked, Brian McKnight.
That's a good one.
Brian McKnight was on our label. Queen Latifah.
Wow.
Another Bad Creation, which is one of Michael Bivins' groups, 702. Let's see. We had so many different artists. Actually, could I show you some of my plaques?
Yes.
Okay,
go ahead.
Here we go. Let me turn on the light. Can you?
She must have. We'll be right back.
rhythm.
Blessed love from Barbados, or as we so beautifully like to say here on the island, what going on, lovely people? I'm Bugging Kente, the spirit of the people. I'd like to welcome you to the Rhythm Caribbean Top 10 Countdown, bringing you some of the hottest artists, songs, and videos from across the entire Caribbean. So stay tuned.
All right, Tony, you're going to have to start from the top.
Okay. Well, I wanted to kind of give you a little tour of.
Okay, start the tour because you had cut out.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi,
go ahead.
Tony. I want to show you a few of my plaques from Motown. Can you see?
Yes.
This is a 702. That was a female group from Las Vegas. Their hit single was titled Stilo, featuring Missy Elliott. Their album would go, which meant they sold 500,000 copies. This is one of my Boys to Men plaques. Can you see that?
Wow. Yes.
Okay. That went double platinum, which meant that's over. At that time, they sold more than that now. But at that time, when I received this plaque, they had sold over 2 million albums.
Wow.
Can you see this?
Yes. Tell us what it is.
This is a plaque. This is this was for Brian McKnight's single Anytime. He was number one on the Billboard chart for like 4 consecutive weeks with his hit song Anytime. Remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I'm going to take you. Okay, can you see this one? Let me turn on the light. This is another Boys to Men plaque. Can you see this one?
Yes. Definitely.
This one is a multi-platinum plaque. That's over 2 million copies sold. And of course, they've sold more since then. Now I'm going to show you. Can you see this one?
Yes.
This is a Stevie Wonder, Boys to Men, and Another Bad Creation. These are for their singles. So Another Bad Creation made their hit song, which went to number 1. It was called Playground. And then Motown Philly from the Cooley High album from Boys to Men. And then Stevie Wonder's Jungle Fever, These 3 Words.
Wow.
So this next plaque is the Temptations.
Wow.
That was the last plaque that I received before I left Motown. And then here's another Boys to Men. This is for 4 million copies of the Cooley High Harmony album.
Oh, wow.
So I've got about 10 more plaques in my closet. I just can't put everything out there. But yeah,
well,
just a little something to share with you guys.
A little something. That's big accomplishments.
Just, you know what? I can say, of course, that was one of my highlight careers, but I'm such a music junkie. You know, I call myself a music curator. You know, I love music, and the history behind the fact that so many people back in the day have paved the way for even the artists today. I wish a lot of younger artists understood that, you know, and valued it more.
Because they went through a lot to even get, you know, R&B, all that kind of disco music on the air. It was very difficult.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Actually, it was music that helped break a lot of the racial barriers. Remember Martha Reeve's song, Dancing in the Street? And remember at one point, they used to literally have barriers like ropes separating African Americans from the whites. But as the music emerged and evolved, they took those barriers down and people were dancing together.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So I mean, of course, I can go on and on about Motown, but you also know I used to work for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Woo! No. So tell us about that now.
Okay, so I was with Motown for over 9 years, and unfortunately, I became a casualty of downsizing. You know, the company merged, and then they downsized, so I was a casualty. At that time, I lived in Cleveland, and you know that's where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is based out of Cleveland. So they actually created a position for me because of my background. So basically, I was the marketing and programming manager. What that meant was I had to create programs around exhibits. So the first year that I started, they did a hip hop exhibit. There was a lot of controversy that, you know, hip hop didn't belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but they did. So I was able to get BET to collaborate with us because it was hip hop's 20th year anniversary, and it was just perfect timing to merge and celebrate it at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's hip hop exhibit. And that was a job that I really enjoyed too. I've got some Rock and Roll Hall of Fame stories too. You want me to share a few with you?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, as you know, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a nonprofit organization. Most people don't know that, but constantly do exhibits. I'll never forget when we did a Jimi Hendrix exhibit. We had one of his couches, which had the cigarette burn in the couch, and visitors are not allowed to touch the artifacts or, you know, anything, you know, because we have to preserve it. And there's always a big sign, do not touch. You cannot sit on this couch. Well, every time we had an exhibit opening, we always had a pre-party for the media and the press and VIPs. And there was a couple that got a little carried away, and they was determined to sit on that couch. They had to be escorted out just to say, I sat on Jimi Hendrix's couch, you know.
Wow.
And one time there was a member, we had Janis Joplin's car, which is a permanent exhibit in there. And they tried to set in the Janis Joplin car. And one time when we opened,
I guess people don't read or they don't care.
Exactly. They don't care. It's just to say I did it, you know. We had a John Lennon exhibit. We actually had the spectacles that John wore when he got assassinated that had the blood stain on those spectacles.
Wow.
In that exhibit, when visitors came to see that exhibit, we had a telephone outside the exhibit hall where Yoko randomly would call sometimes. So if you were there and you just happened to answer the phone when she randomly called, you can talk to Yoko. Well, one day, one of the visitors who was a big loyal John Lennon fan answered the phone. It was Yoko, and I'll just say it wasn't a good experience. They blamed her, and it just wasn't a good experience. This fan was such a big John Lennon fan. He blamed her for everything.
Oh God.
Yeah, so it's sort of like a hit or miss. But what I did, and back to my role, my job was to create events or programming around the exhibits. So, you know, I had to generate new audiences from African Americans to seniors to demographics that would normally come to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Okay. So we created I had to create programming to get people to come. And believe it or not, the majority of the visitors came from all over the world. It's trying to generate people right there in Cleveland to come. But I love that. And of course, I was after 4 years, actually after 9/11, which there again, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a nonprofit organization. We were hit after 9/11 with, some of our donors and sponsors. So there again, I was a casualty of downsizing. And from there, I went to radio, went to Radio 1 in Columbus. That's what brought me to Columbus. And that's somewhat of my background as far as, my music, my experience in the entertainment industry. But I can say, and this is a segue to the other reason why we're talking tonight, I would say,
well, that's a very big part of you. It's very impressive, and it's very important to lead you to where you are now.
Exactly.
Wow.
You know what? That again, this is a good segue into my experience and my resources and background actually prepared me for what I'm doing now. And you want me to go ahead and say that?
Yes.
Well, I am a big advocate for people with developmental disabilities, and I'm very passionate about it. I have a daughter who is an adult. I have an adult daughter who's on the autism spectrum. Her name is Tommy Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry Tommy Lee couldn't be with us or join us tonight. She fell asleep, and it was just something that I couldn't help. And she wouldn't have been the most exciting guest when she was sleepy. So she's sleepy, but I'm going to be her representative tonight. I'm the momager. I'm the Kris Jenner or Kris Kardashian, but I'm Tommy Lee's momager. So let me tell you.
Tony, you got Tony and Tommy Lee.
Tony and Tommy Lee. And Tommy Lee is so special. One of the things that I really want to advocate the fact that, well, first of all, I commend the fact that now society is starting to talk about mental health. I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we need to really start talking more, in particular the African American community, about people with developmental disabilities. Okay.
Wow.
People with developmental disabilities, a lot of time, there is no look, or you can't see it, versus someone that might have a disability or be handicapped, or like in a wheelchair or blind. You can actually see that. But people, a lot of times with developmental disabilities, it's nothing as so much as visual. Like a lot of times when I tell people that my daughter's on the spectrum, they'll say, well, she doesn't look like it. I said, well, what do you think that's supposed to look like? Should she have a third eye? They have a visual of, there is no look.
Right.
And what I would love to see, again, I would like to see more movies, more documentaries, more about African Americans on the autism spectrum.
Okay.
Of course, you've got celebrities like Toni Braxton, Holly Pete Robinson, Tisha Campbell, who have children on the spectrum, but they're celebrities. I don't have the resources that they have, but I am a part of a support group of other African American parents with children on the spectrum. And basically what we do, we share resources and we try to help other people know about these resources.
Okay.
So Tommy Lee, now let me get back to Tommy Lee. Our story is very inspiring to others because Tommy Lee, I've always exposed her to what I did, entertainment, music, but later did I realize by me exposing her to the arts, that was really going to be somewhat of a game changer for her. Once she became 22 years old, I put her in an adult day program. She went to an art studio, which she currently attends, as well as theater. And little did I know that was going to be very transformative. As a matter of fact, anybody that's watching, and so that you can understand and know our story better, I encourage you to watch our documentary. We have a documentary out right now. It's called Art.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's called Art. And I'm gonna show a little bit of pictures, and she's gonna, when we come back, when she comes back, we'll see some pictures here. Just 1 second.
Oh, I'm back. Hey everybody, I'm back. I'm acting like I'm a pro at this. Can
Yes.
you hear me?
Well, I can hear you now because you weren't there, but I'm just gonna show some pictures here.
Oh, okay. So I want to tell people and encourage them to go to the can you still? Oh yeah, that's the book.
Mm-hmm.
We have a book out right
the Tommy
now.
Lee's World, The Adventure of Indie
Tommy
Girl.
Lee's World, The Adventures of Indie Girl. That book is inspired by our story, basically from the time she was born, when she was diagnosed, what it was like going through early intervention, and how she navigated through the arts, and how it just transformed her.
Wow.
This also, as I mentioned, we have a documentary out. It's a very short film about Tommy Lee, and you actually get to see her doing arts and how she emerged. And it's like she found her voice.
There's one of them.
Oh, yeah, one of her pieces. This is can you guess who that is by looking at it? That's Barack Obama.
That's what I was thinking.
That's Barack Obama. That's her, you know, art through her eyes. Barack Obama. Do you have another piece of art you could show?
This one.
I'm not sure who this is, but that's her art.
It could be Alicia Keys. It could be
Beyonce. I think that was
Beyonce
because she loves music. She loves music. So I believe that piece was inspired by Beyonce. That's one of her pieces.
And she got the actual braids in it and everything.
Yes, yes. That's actual braids.
And the 2 horns. Was that 2 horns in there?
There's 2 horns in there. And then her favorite group of all time is the Isley Brothers.
Oh.
I believe you had, I shared that with you. Do you see it?
Yeah, I don't have it. I know you told us before, but that's okay. They can always go to the documentary and see that there.
You won't see that one there, but actually you can go to her Instagram page. It's Tommy Lee's World.
Okay.
And you can see some of these images. And one of the things about Tommy Lee, she wants to be a model.
Woo!
She wants to be a model, and Tommy, we see her as a change agent for people with different disabilities. I like to focus on Tommy's special abilities. I like to focus on what she can do versus of what she can't do. And my motivation is, I believe that limits are lies. You know, you can limit yourself, but anything is possible. As a matter of fact, someone just sent me something. It was a photo of a young lady, beautiful. She has Down syndrome. Well, Victoria's Secret signed their first model with Down syndrome.
Yes, I've seen that one.
And you know what? Tommy Lee is going to be a big model one day. We're just waiting for that break. We're just waiting for that break, and anything is possible. You know, the world has changed, and if more people start to accept and embrace people's different abilities or special abilities, they can see the world in so many different ways. You know, we have to take the time to see the world out of other people's lens. Society is really focused, or in the past, focused on uh, trying to get people with disabilities to conform to normality or being typical, whereas typical people need to understand and conform to their world, because you can learn a lot.
Okay.
You can definitely learn a lot. And like I said, I'm really advocating for, you know, for us to start more or have more dialogue and see more programming and stories about success stories about people, you know, with developmental disabilities.
So what is her book about then? You know, the book that she has.
The book that I wrote the book, and as I
Yes.
mentioned earlier, the book is inspired by our life. From the time she was born, which she was very, very small. I always knew there was something special about her, but I could never put my finger on it. When she was 4 years old, she was diagnosed with autism. And like any parent, when you receive news like that, it takes a minute to process it. So
yes,
it took me a minute, and I'm thinking, okay, well, doesn't change how I feel about her. You know, I love her unconditionally, regardless. So all I knew is that I wanted to give her as much support that she needed to be happy. So we went through an early intervention program. And in the early intervention program, they actually, what I like about it is that myself, my other daughter, and Tommy Lee, we all had to attend. And they taught us a lot of positive reinforcement, a lot of positive behavior modification, a lot of praising, a lot, you know, it's an alternative to like shouting or, you know, but positive reinforcement. So it's very, very humbling, because you got to see and experience other families. And little did I know that that was something that, you know, that just was a game changer. Okay. She didn't have behavioral issues. She was just like in her own world. So fast forward, when we relocated to Columbus, Ohio, Tommy had to get a kidney. She received a kidney transplant from her older sister. Yeah, she's a kidney transplant recipient. But while we were in the hospital, the nurse made me aware of a scholarship that the Department of Education gives people that are on the spectrum. And she was able to attend better schools as a result, because the scholarship paid for her tuition. And I learned so much about resources out there as a parent, and it made me start a support group with other parents, and so that we can share resources with each other. We can let other parents know that there is help out there. You know, you're not alone. There is a lot of help and support that you can get your child, and you don't have to go through it. So, you know, that right there, that was another game changer for me, that I was able to give back and share. So the book, as I mentioned, it's based on our story, Tommy's experience, and basically it's very inspiring. It's very inspiring. And you could find the book on Amazon. It's called.
Oh, it's on Amazon? Okay.
It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. It's called Indigirl. And let me tell you about Indigirl. Are you familiar with the phrase indigo children?
I've heard of it, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Indigo children are believed to have a special aura about them, something special.
Okay.
So the indigo or the indigirl was derived from the term indigo. And basically, indigirl, as Tommy is in the book, indigo is a fictional character that basically has the ability to change with her energy. Her energy is positive and is able to calm and change a situation from a negative to a positive. She's a
Right.
change agent and a champion for other people with disabilities. So that's who Indigirl is, which is my daughter, Tommy Lee.
Well, that's something.
Yeah,
But so you have evolved all the thing that you did Motown. Then you went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame. The radio. Then you're in a special group for people with developmental disabilities.
Yes.
And to help people with their differentialities. So
yes.
It's just and then you wrote a book, Indigo.
I never imagined I would be writing a book. And you just never know. But you know what? We never know. And it was all guided by God. Yes. I know it was. And I just know that there's so much more that I have to do. I think I was chosen to be an advocate, which I'm very proud of, not just for Tommy, but for all people with disabilities. And, we need more champions out there. We all know someone with the disability. Back in the day, and I hate this word because it's offensive, but back in the day, they used to just call everyone retarded. But as you know, that word is not, political. It's just offensive, and it's not politically correct, and it's not accepted these days. And the term special needs or developmental disabled, that's a little bit more acceptable and it's less offensive. Right. So we've come a long way. We have, and we still have a lot of growth, but we've come a long way. So I'm very proud of that. Very, very proud of that.
So are there any shout outs you want to give to people? Because, you've had a very extensive background. Woo, it's good thing we got this all out because people are going to be like, what? This woman here worked for Motown? She didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
And then part of wait a minute, the hip hop, right? Was that what was the part of a BET, right?
Yeah. We collaborated with BET when I worked at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for our hip hop exhibit. It was hip hop's 20th anniversary, and it was the debut of the hip hop exhibit at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So wow. I would just really kind of sum everything up. An opportunity to work for, again, Motown Records and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and all the other things that I've done. It's been a journey, and little did I know that because I've had that experience, that I would be able to use it one day to launch a career for my daughter.
Wow.
Our skills are always transferable, but things happen for a reason. And my journey has led me up to today. And I just know that I can use it to help push my agenda for my daughter and others.
Right.
So for that, I am very blessed and very humbled and very grateful for. And as far as shout outs, I want to shout out to all the mothers, the fathers, the family members, the parents that have a child or relative or a friend with a developmental disability. They just want to be accepted and you to embrace their special abilities and different abilities. And you can learn a lot from it. And they need champions. They don't need sympathy. They need champions. We need more champions. And we just need to spread the word out. And again, I hope that I can inspire others by sharing my story if you want to learn a little bit more, go to Amazon, get a copy of the book, Indie Girl, The Adventures of Tommy Lee's World. And you can go to her Instagram page, Tommy Lee's World. And you can visit me on Facebook, Toni Johnson. And I have a feeling that I'll be back on this show one more time, prepared.
Yes, you will.
Beautiful. Tonight is just, I'm not as beautiful.
Oh my gosh, please.
You know,
this is Real Life Matters, and you told us a lot of information, and you know, you taught us a lot of information about you, yourself, where you've been, where you're going, how you've been. Wow.
Well,
I'm just truly amazing. I'm just like, you know, I'm just in awe, because I'm like, wow. Nobody would expect it. Everybody's gonna be, people that are gonna watch this, they're gonna be like, what? You did all that?
That's me.
And you're so humble, and just, you know, you don't even know. You would never know.
Well, I just feel like I'm just so blessed. I know that I'm blessed, and everything that I have is because of God, and I'm just excited and looking forward to where this journey takes me. And you know, hopefully I've touched someone and inspired even one person that watched this show tonight. Then I've accomplished something. And again, I'm sure that you're gonna have me on that show again.
I will.
The second book, and I'll be talking about.
So you're in process of doing that now, then.
I'll be back on the show.
Yes, you will.
I appreciate you allowing me to be a guest tonight.
Okay.
I am so humbled, and I really appreciate it. And thank you so much.
All right. Well, I do want to thank the viewers tonight for tuning in to Real Life Matters. Toni Johnson and her daughter, Tommy Lee. Please go get the book. You know, support them. You know, they're supporting people with differentialities. And, you know, we're not calling the word autism mental issues anymore. So it's differentialities. So everybody get the right jargon.
That's right. Different abilities and special abilities.
Different abilities and special abilities. That's the new word for that. So, you know, everybody get hip, get hop, you know what I mean? But anyways, thanks. I'm thanking everybody again. Thank you, Toni. You know, and thank you for telling us about everything. So everybody, good night and bye for now.
Good night.